Guys, so this week I'm shooting my video in the car. As you can see, we have a pretty busy week going on and everything. My dad's getting surgery and we're gonna take him, and paydays and bills and all of that, so I didn't want to miss out on a video or anything, but I don't think I really have the time to sit down and do one, so I wanted to do it in the car while I had a few minutes. This video is going to be about how me and my husband met and started dating. So it's not too much of a fun video, but it has its moments. Liam's in the background taking off his shoes. Say hi! Alrighty, so when me and my husband met, I was working at Burger King and I was dating somebody, and I'd been dating this person for almost a year. We'd been on and off, you know, little high school relationship. I was 17 and he was 23. Yeah, 23. So he didn't really talk to me much. You know, he thought I was cute and everything, but he thought I was way too bubbly. Because at work, I act like, "Hi guys, how are you? How can I help you?" Because if you're bubbly and nice, I realized you get tips. Even in a fast food place, you get tips. So I would do that because I wanted tips and I wanted to give great service. I wanted to be told, "Oh, you're such a great worker," and all of that. But my personality is bubbly, but not that bubbly. Like, I was over the top, and people loved it. He didn't, though. He was like, "Oh my gosh, like, get this girl away from me." But he thought I was cute, just annoying. So I had, we didn't really talk, like, sorry, I'm trying to get that shadow off my face. We talk every once in a while, but we wouldn't really, you know, conversate. Well, one day I was sitting on break, and or I was off of work, I can't remember, but he got off at the same time. And I was just sitting there, my feet up on the table, I was relaxing, I was out of my little work business and everything, my little work persona. And I said, "Hey, what's up?" when he came out of the door. And I said, "Come sit next to me." And he's like, "Okay, you're acting different." And he's just looking at me. I was like, "Oh, what's that for?" Because he had a notebook and it was full of drawings because he's an artist. And he's like, "Oh, they're just drawings." I was like, "Oh, these are really cool. Can you draw me a tattoo?" And we started talking. And no, you guys, I didn't get the tattoo or anything. But I did at first want him to draw me one until I changed my mind about which tattoo I wanted and everything. So he was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Describe what you want to me." And he realized I wasn't that, like, you know, all super bubbly. I was just kind of calmer than I had been at work, which is good because I'm not a very calm person, so being that much was way too much. So he thought I was charming, but I still had a boyfriend. And I had happened to be like, "Hey, do you have a ride home?" He said he was waiting for a ride, so I said, "You know what, tell your ride not to come, I'll take you home." So I did that, and my boyfriend happened to be driving the car and everything, and I had to sit in the back, and my now husband had to sit in the front next to my boyfriend. It was a whole awkward experience. It was really weird thinking back on it, but then I was just like, this guy needs a ride home, and I didn't want him waiting out in the snow, like, no. So we gave him a ride home and everything, and my boyfriend was super overly jealous. So he was like all weirded out by it, but it was whatever. I got over it. He got over it. Well, let's flash forward. My husband had stopped working at this fast food place. He stopped because he got a better job. Well, then that better job was doing layoffs, so he ended up getting laid off. And during this time, he'd come to the fast food place to see me. He didn't know why. He would just show up and see if I was there. And a lot of the time I wasn't, which is weird because I was always working. And then one day he finally came in and he saw me. And at this time I was single, and I had been for a little while because it just didn't work out. And it was around Halloween and everything, and so we had these little spooky flower pens out, and he asked if he could borrow a pen while he was after ordering his food. I said yeah, so I handed him the pen. He wrote something down, was filling something out, and then he handed it back to me. And I said, "Oh, you're finally giving me flowers," as a joke. And he didn't think anything of it. And then later, my manager, had come out and said, "Hey, like, to him personally, wanted him to get his old job back. She missed having him there and everything. So he's like, okay, you know what? I'll fill out an application. I'll do the whole thing. And obviously he got hired. So during that time, I was doing online school. So I sit there at work and do online, and then I clock in and blah, blah, blah. And he was filling out applications, and he was getting his job back. So he would be there a lot. So we kept hanging out. And, you know, it was just like friendly hanging out. We wouldn't really flirt with each other because we're both awkward people, socially, like, awkward. And one night we were sitting in his car just talking, blah, blah, blah. I was about to go home, and he said, I wonder if I could read your mind. And I said, what? And he's all, with your headphones. So he put my headphones in, and he's like using the little plug-in part and moving it around my head. And he's like, oh man, there's some weird stuff in your head, and blah, blah, blah. And he's being a dork. And then I thought, kiss me. You know, like, this is the perfect moment. Kiss me. And I didn't say it out loud, but he kissed me. I was like, oh my God, he can read minds. And that was like where it all started. And I thought he was going to ask me to be his girlfriend because we hung out every day. From that day on, for like, even before that, we were hanging out every day, being friends and everything. So I kept thinking he was going to ask me out. You know what this guy did? He made me chase him around for like 2 weeks. We'd hang out every single day. He wouldn't ask me out at all. I kept waiting to make it official. And I know 2 weeks is a long time, but we literally hung out at work. We hung out after work. We hung out before work. We were always hanging out. He even took me to introduce me to his mom. And his mom recognized me. She used to babysit me. I was like, okay, if he doesn't ask me out after this, like, she loves me. If he doesn't ask me out after this, then he's not going to. And finally I asked him, when are you going to ask me to be your girlfriend? And he's all, when I know. I was like, when you know what? What do you mean? He's all, when I know it's right. Like, when I know we're, you know, supposed to be together. And it'll last. I was like, what are you talking about? And so finally, that night comes. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and he asked me out. You guys, I'm not kidding. It took forever for this guy to finally just say, hey, will you be my girlfriend? For the fact that we literally hanging out 24 hours a day. But I know it's not that long, but I'm a very impatient person, and I was thinking there was something wrong with me. Like, I was just, you know, getting played for a fool. And he's like, no. Like, I really do like you. I just wanted to make sure I liked you. And he was right. Like, I'm glad he didn't super rush into it and ask me out right away, because it gave us time to get to know each other. And that 2 weeks was pretty fun, like really fun. Like, we would just talk and hang out with his friends. I met his mom before we started dating. And obviously she used to babysit me, so it was really awesome. And also the fact that he was older than me. And yes, it was perfectly legal. I was literally about to turn 18. But he wanted to make sure, like, I don't want to get in a relationship with an immature person. Like, I want to make sure she's mature and she's grown up and she's an adult. And he made the right decision there, and I'm so happy I made the right decision as to hanging out with him, because you guys, before the first initial hangout, I always ditched him. Like, I was always like, oh, no, like, I'm going home. I don't, So I'd make up some excuse, some lame excuse, and he had to not chase me around, but he was like, okay, why do I keep asking this girl to hang out? But the night he kissed me, I almost ditched him again, but he showed up early, an hour early, because he knew that I was probably going to do that. So I had gotten off work early, and I decided just to go home and tell him, hey, I couldn't make it, which was really messed up. But he showed up, and he was like, I know you. And I was like, oh, I can't just leave him there. Like, that's really messed up. So I hung out with him, and I'm really glad I did. And I'm really glad that everything aligned the way it did. So that is the story of how I met my perfect husband and how we had our perfect little baby who is asleep. So thank you guys for listening. And if you have any videos that you want to see or anything you do want to see, comment down below and tell me, say, hey, I want to know this, or, ask your questions. I am perfectly good with answering them. Sorry about the shadow and sorry about the car video, but I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.